Hey guys, Navonod on No Limit Hold'em. Playing a $5 heads up sit and go. That was the first hand. Kind of just missed that, but I called with 5-4 offsuit. Villain checked the flop back, and I went for a slightly oversized turn bet. So I've been working with some guys. I've actually had 3 coaching sessions with 3 different guys since the last content that I put up. So I'm kind of hoping that gives me some idea of some things to discuss. Maybe we can talk about some of the things that these gentlemen have questioned in common. Although 2 of them don't actually play a lot of heads up, but you know, I guess that's what we're playing. So not much to discuss so far. I think everything's been pretty standard. We can start to get some kind of a little bit of a read on Villain just by knowing that we faced a min 3-bet, which is usually a sign that we're not playing against the best player. There's really no good reason to make a min 3-bet heads up pre-flop, so we can then say that it was a bad thing to do. We don't know anything beyond that, so we're not sure what kind of bad it was. Was it kind of stupid aggressive, or, well, I mean, was it stupid loose aggressive or stupid tight aggressive? Was it a bad bluff or a bad value bet? But anyway, here we are on a 9-6 of hearts, missed the flop about as hard as we could, and Villain's got a pretty serious range advantage, I would say. So it doesn't seem like much to discuss with the check fold there either. It's a pretty reasonable flop for our hand. And we face a donk, so this is interesting. We can definitely just go for the flat call here. I actually don't, yeah, I think we'll start trying to build a pot on the turn. I can't imagine there'd be too many bad cards or anything I'm really going to be too worried about on the turn. Likely he would have 3-bet me with pocket queens pre-flop, or pocket kings don't really make sense for him to have, so I think actually, yeah, let's go ahead and put the raise in here. It just gives us a chance to pick up value from hands that otherwise might not give us value, like if he backed into a backdoor flush draw, which would be kind of bad at this point. And if he's got a hand like jacks or something like that, we can get, well, he would have 3-bet that also. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder what this bet actually does mean. I'm having a hard time figuring out what to make of this. Donk lead on 5-5 queen rainbow. I don't think it can be a reasonable bet. Goes for the 20. Okay. So it looks like a blocking bet of some sort. We're just going to basically consider that a check. And if he had checked, would be betting, and we've set up to get stacks in here, so I think we're just going to go for that and see if we can make this a quick game. We're not always ahead here, but I mean, we definitely are ahead more than half of the time when we get called, so we've got to go for the value bet. Then the only other question is what side is going to use. And we're going to be very polarized in that situation. In fact, trip 5s might be about the worst hand. We're going to be betting for value the way the hand played out. So we want to use a very big bet, usually when we've got a polarized range. 10-7, most standard call that there can be, and again we're going to have a very standard check call. Now usually I would be leading the turn here after he checks back the flop, because I think players are usually pretty imbalanced in that they're usually checking back garbage when they don't see bet the flop as pre-flop razor. The only other kind of hands they'll check back is like showdown value type hands. So where usually I'd be going like, since he capped his range, like pot sized at least with a polarized range, but we actually have a somewhat valuable hand here. So instead of just turning it into a bluff, I think it's better to go for the half potter and hope that he was checking back like a 3, something like ace 3 for showdown value that he's just hoping to bluff catch with. But we just picked up some more information, and we want to kind of put that into our picture of our opponent. And he's shaping up to be all kinds of bad. He's using donk bets with probably bluff-heavy ranges, or like mediocre strength hands, and then going too far with them. He is making weird 3-bets and weird sizings, and what did he just do that was bad? Donked it, yeah, he made a donk bet that didn't make sense. And then he checked back the flop and folded to a half-pot lead. So we know that there's a pretty good chance when he's checking back flop, we can just take it by bombing the turn. Okay. He checks back. So, you know, last time I bet half pot and he folded, and I don't really want to let that happen again. This is a spot where I would love to be betting for value, but my hand does play pretty well as a check call. It's giving me no reason to think that he's going to bluff, but let's just switch it up a little bit and give him a chance to put some money in the pot, because last time we bet the turn after he checked the flop, he folded. And I really don't want to see him just fold some air. Love to catch a bluff here with a chance to either have the best hand or improve to the best hand. I think we've got a pretty reasonable check here. And if he bets, I think we can just pick it off. Because he should have bet his flush draws on the flop, you'd think. And may not bet King X, so I think his betting range, if he had bet, would have been probably fairly bluff heavy. Okay, so he actually had a draw, a backdoor draw, so he's not c-betting his backdoor flush draws either. But he did bet the flush draw on the turn when I checked. Excuse me. So we're just going to kind of take our time, consider all the variables that we need to weigh when we're making our decisions, and just take this one decision point at a time. I think 8-4 offsuit would be a fold. 8-5 offsuit's probably close, but it is just a min raise against an opponent I feel pretty comfortable playing post flop against. So we've got some ways to play across some different turns here. But you know, he has been doing a lot of checking back on the flop when he doesn't have it. So I think we should assign a little bit more weight to his c-bets. A little more weight to the value end of his range when he makes a c-bet would be a better way to put that. Even though I've got some stuff going on, like 5-6 blank 8 2 3 4 5. Yeah, it's that was a pretty. I'm starting to hallucinate equity, I think, so that's probably not great. So we have a range advantage here, and he leads into us anyway. And I think we're going to go ahead and call with our ace high. And see if he'll just check the turn and give up. Yeah, so we're just gonna lay this down. I felt like he could be betting some diamond draws when he's leading, or we didn't get to see his last donk bet at showdown, but it really didn't make sense to be a value hand. So yeah, it was either some kind of like blocking bet with a mediocre made hand, or it was an outright bluff, I think. With the $20 bet into like 900 or something on the river, I'm gonna say probably when he's donk leading, he's doing it with like some janky made hand, or some kind of a draw. Probably something rather than nothing, but obviously nothing all that strong. And so I liked kind of calling with the ace high and seeing if we could find a spot on a later street, or just get our ace high to showdown, or make some kind of a pair. he's got the range advantage, he's got position, and he has shown a propensity to check his air back. So for all of those reasons, we'll go with the check and fold. He's like c-betting my opens and he's checking his stuff back. It's pretty weird. Two overcards. King high for our no pair. Position. Backdoor flush draw. Board that's hard to hit. A player who's likely not donk betting strong hands is donking weak hands, either bluffs, weak made hands, or weak draws, I think is what his donk betting range looks like, so we just went for the bluff. Let's go for the value 3-bet, and let's size this back a little bit. I'm happy to get stacks in, but just for balance moving forward, if I do make a light 3-bet, I want to be able to fold to a jam. This is close as it is. I mean, not that I'd fold ace-jack to a jam, but if I had a bluff instead. I think we can go for the raise here. Got some suited cards. Got the button. Got a player that seems kind of bad at poker. So it seems like he's just sort of mashing buttons. He's got some, feels like more like habits of play rather than a real defined strategy. But I mean, for all intents, a strategy and a pattern of button clicking is going to be the same thing for us to play against. Okay, now I feel like he must have shifted, changed gears a little bit, and either as part of his basic strategy or just the way he's feeling right now. Either way, he's started to c-bet some flops, probably with error, because he's c-bet, I think, 3 flops in a row. And, seems to me like 2 of those 3 were kind of hard to hit. Okay, so he goes for the check back on the ace 7-3 rainbow. It's so bizarre. I think, you know, like, it's not a bad strategy for me to just turn my pair of 7s into a bluff catcher, or use them as a bluff catcher. You know, for framing our hand out, like, if we bet, how many better hands fold? Exactly 0. And what worse hands are going to call? Like, maybe heart draws, maybe some gut shots, but maybe not. I mean, maybe he bets his heart draws at some point, or raises his draws if we bet, in which case we have to fold. So checking and calling seems okay, as is. I mean, if we're framing our hand out, it looks pretty much like we've got a bluff catcher, and what do you do with a bluff catcher? You try to catch bluffs. But the other thing is that I'd really love to know what hand he's checking back on this flop as pre-flop raiser. So there's some extra value or extra incentive to getting to see his hand at showdown. So when everything's pretty close, I don't feel like I want to go too far out of my way to try to make him or give him an opportunity to fold. Yeah, this just screams value bet. Like, he's screams strength, because he bets 400. It's a much bigger bet sizing than he has been using. Plus, he didn't leave himself enough to fold if he's got any kind of a value hand, and I don't really think he's got nothing very often. So I think we've got a pretty clear-cut fold. Feels to me like he hit the 8, maybe like an 8-10. Maybe he picked up a draw when the 8 came, and made his draw on the river. It's probably the most likely thing, is he had like 8-10, or a draw that got there on the river. He like went backdoor flush draw or backdoor straight draw would be my guess. 3-4 suited. I'm gonna try to limp and see if he'll let us get away with that. I have a feeling he will. Alright. And he leads here, which is not at all believable, because we would expect that he would have raised against our limp with a lot of his ace X hands. Yeah, it can make a lot of sense, I think, for him to have a jack. The problem is, we also have dominated draw some of the time. But I guess we get the rest of his stack if we... That's so close. We're going to lay this down because it's so close to a break-even spot. And we didn't know that 10 of diamonds was coming. But I mean, you know, he could have had it. You know, maybe we hit the 10 of diamonds and lose anyway. Either because he had a boat, or pretty unlikely, or because he had a jack 10, or which made a boat, or he had just a diamond draw, which almost, I think, maybe had to be bigger than our draw. Unless he had the 2, yeah, had to be bigger than our draw. So with the nut low diamond draw. And we just go for a flat with 8-7. We're just going to check and call with our 8x. Pretty good card for our hand. Doesn't do much to change ranges, so we're just going to go for another check and call. For whatever it's worth, we block clubs. Okay, so he went for the double barrel there. I'd love to see what he bet twice with, but lost and did not fire another shell. So he bet a pair of 5s on the flop. That looks a little questionable on the turn. I don't mind it. Although, yeah, I think the better line would have been to check back flop and call turn. This is kind of sketchy, because if he jams, I'm going to be in a very disgusting spot. I don't know. Like, probably if I was going to bet, I should have just piled it in there. Honestly, I was still thinking of the other hand and hadn't looked at his stack yet. And that's a mistake. That costs 3V. You've got to be careful about that. I think if he was just a little bit shorter, like 400 we're calling for sure. 450 probably we call. 500 we can probably start to puke, and 600 I think we just fold. Okay, we've been doing this, so let's just go ahead and continue doing it. I wouldn't mind creating a stack to pot ratio of about 1. So you got to think about that too ahead of time. Like if he calls now, there's going to be 400 in the pot, and he's going to have 518 behind. And if he rips it in, we're perfectly happy to play for stacks with pocket 8s. We're flipping, but you know, that's fine. We don't love flipping against a bad player, but you know, there's not too many spots where we won't be flipping. And he's accepted the rematch. Cool. So let's do that. We're already at 18 minutes, so I guess I'm going to wrap this video up. So I'll record this second part as well and maybe release it too. Let me know if you want to see the conclusion. Let's do it that way. If anybody leaves in the comments that they want to see this, the second match, and if there is a third round, then yeah, leave me a comment if you want to see that. And if not, then I won't do it. I won't post it. But until next time, guys, good luck. Navonod over and out.